So today I am looking at Cloelia in the chart for somebody. I just wrapped up 12 weeks worth of workshops, and I had 3 separate series, 4 workshops each. The first one was feminine wounding, the second was intentional alchemy, and the third was soul liberation. And Cloelia is the last asteroid in the soul liberation workshop, and all of these asteroids were focused around ancestral trauma and witch wounds and alchemizing all of that energy into something positive that we serve the world with. So Cloelia in the chart represents advocacy and guardianship. She represents liberation of self and others through courage, through bravery. She was named after a young girl in a Roman war around 500 BC who fled across the river and ended up taking other women and children with her. And there's actually a statue dedicated to her in Rome. So she's one of my favorite asteroids. Like I said, in the house of rebirth, she's at 1 degree. And I think that it is just really beautiful, the energy that's in here, because if you look below her, you'll see Karma at 29 degrees in Aries. That's right next to Chiron. Chiron is about our deepest wounds, meant to serve the collective with, next to Venus. So there's a lot of energy here around values and advocacy. And with Cloelia being at 1 degree, that is the beginning of a karmic cycle. 0 is actually the very beginning, but this is a very new energy. You're just stepping into this energy. And with it being in Taurus, that's the energy of abundance and security. And Taurus is very much embodied self-worth. Think about Taurus season, the time of the year that is. You have everything coming into abundance, right? Everything's growing. It's springtime. It's beautiful. So Taurus really represents that empowerment around knowing our worth and being able to speak that, because Taurus rules the throat. So there's energy here around serving from your values and your wounds and advocating for yourself in that way, which is releasing karma, because 29 degrees is the end of a karmic cycle. It is the anaretic degree. So you're closing something out, and then you have a whole new cycle around this abundance of self-worth, which not only liberates you, but liberates others. And she's so close to Sedna and Kali, which I just love that like reverberation of this energy, because Sedna represents family betrayals, and particularly from the masculine, and it shows like where we need to let go of parts of ourselves. Like literally, she had her arms and her hands taken from her by her father. So it represents those parts of ourself that we need to give up to descend into our own spiritual evolution, to understand our worth, to recognize that the betrayals that we experience from our family are not about our worth. They're about their wounds. And then Kali just reinforces this message, because Kali is the Hindu goddess of destruction, but she's not a bad energy. She's a beautiful, compassionate, and very fierce energy. And Kali in the chart represents that motherly, tough love that we all need, who is just slaying the cords that, like, the ties that bind us, right? She's very much about cutting the ego away, cutting cords to people and things that hold us back and don't reciprocate and don't serve us on our path to alignment. Again, all of this is around embodied self-worth in the house of rebirth, which is really beautiful. And I always like to look at the opposite and just see if there's anything over here that we're looking to balance that energy with. And Scorpio is the opposite of Taurus. If you think about, like I said, Taurus is the springtime, abundance, everything's growing. Scorpio represents death in the chart, and Scorpio is that death for transformation energy. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, so that like death for destruction, for transformation, that caterpillar into butterfly energy, whereas Taurus is ruled by Venus. So that very like loving value energy. There's nothing here that is exactly opposite of Cloelia, but just think about that energy of that death for transformation precedes, you know, that rebirth around self-worth. And then if we look to the transits, sorry, my computer is just, I need a new one. We look to the transits, there's quite a lot going on for this client of mine. So you can sort of see Cloelia and Elpis are traveling together just outside of Capricorn. They're leaving Capricorn. I think I put the chart in here a few days ago. But Cloelia was at 29 degrees Capricorn. Elpis is actually Hope in the chart. And that was at 0 degrees. So those are really hovering over her Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is that conglomeration of dark goddess energy in the chart. It is representative of the repressed feminine. And hello, my lovely client has Pluto outside of that. So she is going to be truly transforming all of this repressed feminine energy in her line that supports, again, that rebirth around her worth. And with Cloelia at that 29 degrees, again, it's the end of a karmic cycle. There is this freedom and liberation there around these old structures and the old ways of doing things. And also that wisdom that has been like handed down through the lines, right? Because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So we literally carry the wisdom of our ancestors in our bones. Saturn rules the bones. Capricorn represents ancestors. So there's that freedom and that transformation of trauma. And then you have hope. And then you have Pluto. Again, Pluto is very much like where we regain our power. It's a lot of people look at Pluto and get scared, but it's where we've lost power in a previous life, and it's where we have the opportunity to retain our power in this life. So right outside Black Moon Lilith, in Aquarius, Aquarius is like very forward moving energy. It is that humanitarian energy. It's very much power for the people energy. Fourth house here is ancestors, roots. To where we come from. So I think that there's I know there's a lot going on for my client with regards to this. So I just want to give you a quick idea of what Cloelia in somebody else's chart looks like. Let me know if you have any questions.